A charming deception. The night was electric with the hum of conversation and the clinking of glasses. Liam, a well-known art dealer with an eye for the extraordinary, found himself irresistibly drawn to a particular exhibit in the high-end art gallery. It wasn't the art itself that captivated him, but the artist behind it, Marcus. There was something magnetic about Marcus, an enigmatic aura that set him apart from the other guests. As the evening wore on, Marcus approached Liam with a knowing smile. "Enjoying the show?" he asked, his voice a smooth, almost hypnotic cadence. "Very much," Liam replied, unable to tear his eyes away from the artist. "Your work is fascinating." Marcus's smile widened. "I'm glad you think so. How about a private tour of my studio? I promise, what you see there will be even more intriguing." Liam, intrigued and slightly tipsy from the night's libations, accepted the invitation without hesitation. Little did he know, this decision would lead him down a path of terror and despair. Marcus's studio was a stark contrast to the opulence of the gallery. It was an expansive, dimly lit space filled with sculptures that seemed almost alive. Liam's initial awe soon turned into a creeping sense of unease. The sculptures were too lifelike, their expressions frozen in a moment of terror and agony. "These are incredible," Liam stammered, trying to shake off the growing discomfort. Marcus's eyes gleamed in the low light. "They're my masterpiece. Each one is a testament to a moment captured in perfection." Liam's heart began to race as he noticed a peculiar detail. Every sculpture had a striking resemblance to missing persons he had seen on the news. "How do you achieve such realism?" he asked, his voice trembling slightly. Marcus stepped closer, his gaze intense. "It's a secret technique I've perfected. You see, my art isn't just about representation. It's about preservation, immortalization." A cold chill ran down Liam's spine. "What do you mean?" With a sinister smile, Marcus revealed the horrifying truth. "I encase my subjects in resin, preserving their bodies and souls forever. They become a part of my art, eternal and unchanging." Realization dawned on Liam, and panic set in. He was the next masterpiece. With a surge of adrenaline, he lunged for the door, but Marcus was faster. A brutal struggle ensued, the studio echoing with the sounds of their desperate fight. Liam knew he couldn't match Marcus's strength, so he resorted to cunning. "You can't do this," he shouted, trying to buy time. "People will notice I'm missing. They'll come looking for me." Marcus laughed, a chilling sound. "By then, it will be too late. You'll be another beautiful addition to my collection." In a moment of clarity, Liam spotted a heavy sculpture tool nearby. He grabbed it and swung with all his might, catching Marcus off guard. The artist crumpled to the ground, unconscious. Breathing heavily, Liam didn't waste a second. He bolted for the door, the eerie sculptures seeming to watch his every move. He didn't stop running until he was far away from that nightmarish place. Though he escaped with his life, Liam was forever haunted by the experience. He couldn't shake the feeling that Marcus's eyes were still on him, waiting for the perfect moment to claim his next masterpiece. Dinner with danger. Clara's heart raced with excitement as she descended the hidden staircase to the exclusive underground pop-up restaurant. Known for its avant-garde dining experiences, this secretive spot promised an unforgettable evening. Awaiting her at the bottom was Jason, a charismatic chef with a reputation for groundbreaking cuisine. His smile was warm, his demeanor charming. "Ready for a night of culinary adventure?" Jason asked, extending his arm. "Absolutely," Clara replied, her curiosity piqued. As a tech-savvy programmer, she was drawn to innovation and couldn't wait to see what Jason had in store. The dining room was intimate and dimly lit, exuding an air of exclusivity and mystery. Each table was set apart, shrouded in flickering candlelight. Clara and Jason were led to a secluded corner, where their evening began with a series of exotic amuse-bouches. The dishes were stunning, each one a visual masterpiece that teased her senses. As the courses progressed, Clara felt a mixture of awe and curiosity. Jason's creations were unlike anything she had ever experienced, each bite a new adventure. Little did she know, this night would lead her down a path far darker than she could ever have imagined. The evening unfolded with an array of courses that were as perplexing as they were beautiful. The first dish was a small, translucent sphere that burst in Clara's mouth with an explosion of savory flavors, followed by a soup with an eerie, blood-red hue and a texture that sent shivers down her spine. Each course was a new sensory experience, pushing the boundaries of Clara's culinary expectations. As the night progressed, Clara's initial delight began to wane. The dishes, though visually stunning, had strange textures and peculiar flavors that became harder to ignore. One course featured a tartare so tender and rich it was almost too perfect. Another, a delicate slice of what appeared to be foie gras, left a metallic aftertaste that lingered unpleasantly. Clara's unease grew with each bite. Jason, who had been the epitome of charm earlier in the evening, began to exhibit a disturbing intensity. His eyes gleamed with a manic fervor as he explained each dish in intricate detail, his smile never quite reaching his eyes. Clara tried to maintain her composure, but her growing suspicion gnawed at her. "What's this made of?" she asked, trying to keep her tone light as she pointed to a particularly unnerving dish. Jason's smile was enigmatic. "A chef never reveals his secrets," he replied, his voice carrying an unsettling edge. The final course arrived, a piece of meat so exquisitely prepared it looked almost ethereal. Clara hesitated, her fork hovering in midair. Jason leaned in closer, his eyes burning with an intensity that made her skin crawl. "You know," he began, his voice a low whisper, "there's a reason my dishes are so unique. It's not just about the technique. It's the ingredients." Clara's heart pounded as she put down her fork. "What do you mean?" she asked, her voice barely more than a whisper. Jason's smile widened into something grotesque. "Human flesh," he said, savoring the words. "My previous dates have all contributed to my masterpieces. Tonight, it's your turn." Horror washed over Clara as the reality of her situation sunk in. She was dining on the remains of Jason's victims, and she was next on the menu. The charming chef was a predator, and the exclusive pop-up restaurant was his hunting ground. Clara's heart raced as Jason's horrifying revelation sank in. She needed to escape, but Jason was already on his feet, his eyes alight with a predatory gleam. Panic surged through her veins as she scanned the room for an exit, her mind racing to come up with a plan. "You're not going anywhere," Jason sneered, his voice dripping with menace. Desperation fueled Clara's actions as she lunged for her bag, where her laptop and phone were stashed. Jason moved to block her, but she managed to grab her bag and darted toward the back of the restaurant. Jason was right behind her, his footsteps echoing in the dimly lit corridor. Clara's tech-savvy mind went into overdrive. She remembered passing the restaurant's security room earlier in the night. If she could reach it, she might be able to use her programming skills to hack into the system and create a diversion. With Jason hot on her heels, she sprinted down the hall, her breath coming in ragged gasps. Reaching the security room, Clara slammed the door shut and locked it just as Jason's weight crashed against it. She had only moments before he would break through. Her fingers flew over the keyboard of her laptop, hacking into the restaurant's security system. She bypassed firewalls and encrypted codes, her adrenaline-fueled concentration unwavering. Jason's pounding on the door grew more frantic. "You can't hide forever, Clara," he shouted, his voice muffled but filled with rage. With a final keystroke, Clara gained control of the security system. She dimmed the lights throughout the restaurant and triggered the fire alarm, creating chaos and confusion. The blaring siren and flashing lights disoriented Jason, giving Clara the precious seconds she needed. She unlocked the door and slipped out, using the security cameras to guide her through the labyrinthine passages of the underground restaurant. Jason's shouts of anger and the clamor of the alarm echoed around her, but she kept moving, her heart pounding in her chest. Navigating the maze of hallways, Clara finally reached a service exit. She hacked into the lock with her laptop and pushed the door open, bursting out into the cold night air. Clara's escape seemed within reach, but Jason's relentless pursuit wasn't over. As she sprinted down a dark alley, she heard his footsteps closing in. Her adrenaline surged anew, propelling her forward. Just as Jason was about to catch up, Clara spotted a heavy metal door with an emergency exit sign. With a final burst of energy, she threw herself against the door, forcing it open. Jason lunged, but Clara managed to slip through, slamming the door shut behind her. She quickly locked it, trapping Jason inside the underground maze. His furious shouts echoed from the other side as Clara stumbled into the safety of the street. Shaking and breathless, she dialed 911, reporting everything she'd witnessed. The authorities arrived swiftly, storming the underground restaurant and rescuing other potential victims. Jason was apprehended, his gruesome culinary secrets exposed to the world. In the aftermath, Clara struggled to return to her normal life. The horrific memories of the night haunted her, manifesting in nightmares and flashes of terror. Yet, she found solace in knowing she had survived and brought a monster to justice. Her bravery and quick thinking had saved countless lives, turning her ordeal into a testament of resilience and strength. Terror at twilight. The sky glowed with the warm hues of sunset, casting a serene light over the secluded nature reserve. Tall trees framed the path, their leaves rustling gently in the evening breeze. Ethan, an adventurous travel blogger, felt a rush of excitement as he approached the entrance. He had met Vanessa, a stunning wildlife photographer, on a dating app, and their conversations had quickly revealed a shared love for nature and adventure. When Vanessa suggested a twilight hike promising breathtaking views and rare animal sightings, Ethan eagerly agreed. Vanessa stood waiting, her silhouette striking against the colorful sky, a camera slung over her shoulder. Her smile was captivating, her eyes bright with enthusiasm. "Ready for an unforgettable adventure?" she asked, her voice carrying a note of exhilaration. "Absolutely," Ethan replied, matching her excitement. They set off along the trail, the fading light casting long shadows that danced around them. The nature reserve was picturesque, with a tranquil beauty that seemed almost otherworldly. Birds chirped their evening songs, and the air was filled with the earthy scent of the forest. As they walked deeper into the wilderness, Ethan couldn't help but feel a growing sense of wonder. The promise of a unique experience with Vanessa, coupled with the enchanting surroundings, made this twilight hike seem like the perfect beginning to a memorable evening. Little did he know, it would turn into a night of survival against a predator who saw him as her ultimate prey. The hike began with an air of romance, the twilight casting a golden glow over the serene and beautiful surroundings. The path meandered through dense forest, opening occasionally to reveal stunning vistas of rolling hills and sparkling streams. Ethan was enchanted by the natural beauty around him and by Vanessa's insightful commentary on the flora and fauna they encountered. Vanessa's enthusiasm was infectious as she pointed out a family of deer grazing in the distance. "Nature is so raw and beautiful," she said, snapping photos with her camera. It's a constant dance between life and death. Ethan nodded, admiring her passion. However, as they continued, he began to notice an unsettling trend in their conversations. Vanessa seemed particularly fascinated by the more brutal aspects of the natural world. She lingered on descriptions of predatory animals, their hunting tactics, and the elegance of their kills. "Look at that hawk," Vanessa whispered, her eyes shining. "Isn't it magnificent? So graceful, yet so deadly. The way it swoops down on its prey. There's something so pure about it." Ethan felt a chill run down his spine. "Yeah, it's incredible," he replied, trying to match her enthusiasm but unable to shake his growing unease. The forest, once serene, now seemed filled with unseen dangers. The turning point came when they reached a secluded clearing. The last light of the day cast eerie shadows, and the air grew colder. Vanessa stopped and turned to Ethan, her expression shifting from enthusiastic to something far more sinister. "Do you know why I really brought you here, Ethan?" she asked, her voice dropping to a chilling whisper. Ethan's heart pounded in his chest. "For the hike and the views, right?" A twisted smile played on Vanessa's lips. "No, Ethan, it's for the hunt. Humans are the ultimate prey. Intelligent, resourceful, and full of fear. There's nothing more thrilling." Ethan's breath caught in his throat as the horrifying realization dawned on him. This wasn't a romantic adventure. Vanessa had meticulously planned this hike to trap him, using the dense forest and her deep knowledge of the terrain to her advantage. His survival instincts kicked in as he understood the deadly game Vanessa intended to play, and he knew he had to rely on his wits and resourcefulness to escape the predator who saw him as her next victim. Ethan's heart raced as Vanessa's chilling words echoed in his mind. He took a step back, then another, before turning and sprinting into the forest. Vanessa's laughter followed him, a haunting sound that sent shivers down his spine. "Run, Ethan. Make this interesting," she called after him. The forest, once a place of tranquility, now seemed like a labyrinth of shadows and unseen dangers. Ethan's mind raced, trying to recall any survival skills he had picked up from his travels. He knew his best chance was to keep moving and stay unpredictable. He zigzagged through the trees, trying to put as much distance between himself and Vanessa as possible. Despite his efforts, it quickly became clear that Vanessa knew the terrain far better than he did. She moved with ease, her footsteps barely making a sound, while Ethan struggled to navigate the dense underbrush. Panic set in as he heard her getting closer, her mocking voice cutting through the darkness. "You're doing well, Ethan," she taunted, "but you can't hide forever." Ethan stumbled over a fallen log and caught himself just in time. He needed to think strategically. He looked around, spotting a narrow game trail that led deeper into the forest. Taking a deep breath, he decided to follow it, hoping it would lead him to safety. The trail was barely visible in the dim light, but he pressed on, listening for any sign of Vanessa. As he ran, he spotted a small creek and remembered a survival trick he had learned. Water can mask your scent and footsteps. He waded into the creek, the cold water biting at his legs, and moved upstream, hoping to throw Vanessa off his trail. The sound of rushing water drowned out the forest's eerie silence, offering a small sense of solace. Ethan's mind raced with ideas. He spotted a patch of thick underbrush and decided to create a makeshift trap. He bent back several saplings, tying them together with vines to create a snare. It wasn't much, but it might buy him some time. He continued upstream, every sense heightened as he listened for Vanessa's approach. Suddenly, he heard a snap and a curse. His trap had worked. Vanessa had been caught off guard, if only for a moment. Seizing the opportunity, Ethan scrambled up the bank and into a thicket of trees. He needed to keep moving, but the brief respite allowed him to gather his thoughts and plan his next move. Ethan's resourcefulness paid off again when he stumbled upon an old hunting cabin. He pushed open the door, his heart pounding, and quickly searched for anything he could use as a weapon. Finding a rusty hunting knife, he gripped it tightly, knowing it might be his last line of defense. The forest around him grew darker as night fell, making it harder to see. He heard Vanessa's voice, closer now, filled with a mix of anger and excitement. "You can't run forever, Ethan. This is my domain." Taking a deep breath, Ethan knew he had to turn the tables. He moved quietly, using the darkness to his advantage. Every rustle of leaves and snap of twigs could be a potential trap set by Vanessa or a chance for him to outmaneuver her. His survival instincts sharpened, and he steeled himself for the final confrontation, determined to turn Vanessa's twisted game against her. Ethan's breath came in ragged gasps as he maneuvered through the dense forest, clutching the rusty hunting knife. The darkness was suffocating, every shadow a potential threat. He could hear Vanessa's footsteps closing in, her voice a chilling whisper in the night. "It's over, Ethan. You can't hide." Summoning his last reserves of strength, Ethan stopped and turned to face her, hiding behind a thick tree trunk. Vanessa emerged from the shadows, her eyes gleaming with predatory delight. "You're a worthy opponent," she said, stepping closer. "But it's time to end this." With a burst of adrenaline, Ethan lunged from his hiding spot, catching Vanessa off guard. They grappled fiercely, the knife clattering to the ground. Ethan's survival instincts kicked in, and he used his knowledge of the forest to his advantage, twisting and turning, using the trees as shields. In a desperate final move, Ethan managed to overpower Vanessa, pinning her to the ground. "It's over," he panted, binding her hands with the same vines he had used earlier. As dawn broke, Ethan emerged from the forest, Vanessa in tow. Authorities were called, and Vanessa's twisted obsession with hunting humans was exposed. The media dubbed her the predator photographer, and her story became a chilling cautionary tale. Though Ethan survived, the harrowing experience left deep scars. The once thrilling allure of adventure was now tainted with fear, but he found solace in knowing he had outwitted a predator and brought her reign of terror to an end.